My OGs, my new Gs, my incoming Gs, channel, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my HR story, how I got into HR, how I built a career in HR, and how you can also do it if it's something that you're interested in. Please like this video, comment, share with anybody that you think might benefit from, or anybody that you know that is trying to get into HR. Now, for my backstory, I attended the University of Benin from 2015 to 2019/2020. I studied, the course that I studied was plant biology and biotechnology, Faculty of Life Science, PBB, essentially. I already knew going into PBB that this was not something I was going to use to build a career around. It was just I applied for something different, which is a whole other story. I applied for medicine because I didn't know what else to apply for. I applied for medicine, got in to, was given plant biology and biotechnology, and that kind of thing was like, oh, take it first. I was scammed, but I'm happy I was scammed. Oh, take it first, in 200 level, we'll see how you can transfer and all of that. So transfer in 200 level didn't work. I essentially finished, and I remember one day, I think this was like 300, end of 300, beginning of 400 level. I was thinking, I didn't know what to do with my life, as I'm sure like many people can relate to, because I had done PBB. I didn't want to work in PBB. I didn't know where to start from. And then one of the things that has been like a driving point for this, starting this channel or starting content creation along this line, or even writing a book, is that when I was growing up at the time, I didn't have access to all of these resources or all of this information. I didn't have any guide. I basically waded through the waters myself without knowing how to swim. And luckily, I was able to overcome. So I finished my final year exams on the 29th of November of 2019. I did my defense on the 9th of December. It was my sister's birthday. I did my defense on the 9th of December 2019. And when you're done, you go home. So I went home. There was an uncle I had in Lagos then, or an uncle and an auntie I had in Lagos. Shout out to you guys, Fawini and Mawini. Shout out to you guys. I think they were very instrumental in me finding like my career path and the things I want to do. So my auntie reached out like late December, just a little bit into before the new year, that there was a mall, like a superstore close to her, that they were looking for. They were employing, essentially. They were employing like cashiers, they were employing supervisors, all of these things. And she was like, what are you doing in being now? So you're finished, come. And I was like, oh, okay, no problem. What's the point of being at home, like waiting for NYSC and all of that? So I packed my bags. I traveled to Lagos. I resumed on the 5th of January. I went to do an interview on the 4th of January. So I went to an interview, like, for me, it was just something to do. Like, let me just leave my house. You get it? So I interviewed, and then they gave me the role of a supervisor because they felt like, oh, I was well spoken, I was intelligent, I am well spoken, I am intelligent, and it just was a good fit. So it was in this role. I did that role for about 9 months, even in the heat of COVID, because it was an essential service, so they didn't shut down. So even in the midst of COVID, I was working in this role. So in this role, I was managing the cashiers, the floor attendants, everybody essentially, which was managing people, right? I had a great manager then who taught me the ropes, who came in later, taught me the ropes and the like. So at this point, we're doing recruitment for like cashiers. I had to sit in, I had to come up with questions, I had to do the vetting, say who we're picking, who we're not picking, why we're picking, why we're not picking, which is essentially recruitment, right? I also had to manage their onboarding, bring them up to speed. At this time, I didn't know what all of this were. So a couple of months into the job, I was having like a conversation with a friend, one of my acquaintances at that time, and he offhandedly mentioned that, oh, maybe I can even do like human resource management. I know prior then, I had only heard of human resource management in passing. One of my friends' roommates then, when we're in 100 level, or when we're in 200 level, was studying human resource management. But it was just like, whew, it was out the window. So when he mentioned it again, I was like, oh, maybe you should do something around like human resources and all. I was like, okay, maybe. And then I went on Google, I searched human resource management. I read up like a lot. I read up like a lot on it, what they do, what it was looking like. I was like, okay. That was when I now decided that I think I wanted to pursue a career in this field. After I decided that I wanted to do HR, one of the things that I did was, first of all, look for how to gather knowledge, which is like point one if you're looking to transition, looking for how to gather knowledge. Then, because I used to have this 100% financial aid, I had a mentor that had helped me do an application for a course preparing to manage human resources from the University of Minnesota on Coursera. He helped me to apply for financial aid. I got it. There were like a couple of courses I had to take. I was taking it, they're talking about recruitment, managing people, how reasons why people, I still remember reasons why people work for money, for value, for passion, and all of those things. So as I was taking those courses, I was getting like more and more interested. However, while I was taking the courses on Coursera, I realized that the courses were not tailored to the Nigerian market at all, like to the Nigerian labor market at all. It was tailored to America, which was valid. So I pivoted. I joined HR communities. There's this Kendall Consulting. I think her name is Coach Adora. She had a whole HR Nigeria group. Like the name of the group on Facebook was HR Nigeria. So I joined the group. I got like insights from people asking questions. She also posted jobs on the group. All of these things I did. She then had like a free webinar on how to like human introduction to human resources, everything that you needed to know. She had a couple of courses. I couldn't pay for them. I was working there. My salary was like 35K, and I was saving it, but I couldn't get courses. So I went on YouTube. I got the courses. Then I did something else where I got the Nigerian labor law, because I was like, oh, it's part of CIPM, right? It's part of human resources. I got the Nigerian labor law. I went to cyber cafe. I printed. It was a very long document. I printed it, but like it was like as I was reading, I was getting excited. As I was reading, I was getting excited. My manager just let me practice what I was learning with the people that I had then. So I will go in. I'll be like, oh, every day. I think I was the bone. I was the thorn in his flesh when I started learning this thing, because I would go, I'm like, oh my God, we're breaking this law. We're not giving people their employment letters. They've been here for a couple of months. Oh my God, deducting people's salary is not allowed legally, and all of these things. So like, it just gave me like it just allowed me, my manager then just allowed me to use where I was working as a learning. I did that till the end of 2020, like towards the end of 2020, I went back to Benin. Then I was at home. I wasn't doing much. I was freelancing. I was content writing on Upwork, on Fiverr, getting clients. And then in May of 2021, I went to do my service. So I was posted to Imo. I counted Imo, redeployed to Akure. I was working in the bursary department. So I had all of these little buckets of experience here and there. So with the supermarket, with the mall, I had done recruitment, onboarding, managing people's performance, disciplinary management, conflict resolution. I'd done that part. So when I worked I worked in the bursary department of a school, a university, and one of the things that I handled was payroll for corpers. I didn't even know it was payroll at the time, or I knew it was payroll, but not in the scale that I expected payroll to be. So it wasn't complicated because it was corpers. We didn't have like a lot of deductions. We didn't have anything. It was like, oh, what was going to be for everybody, preparing a schedule, sending it to them, following up with payments and all of that. And that was what that experience also did for me. Now, in all of these things, I had already started like ramping up knowledge. Like I was already preparing for CIPM. In July of 2021, I registered for CIPM to become a student member of CIPM. I got in, I paid my acceptance fee, and then I got access to the learning materials. I started each of the stages. So I got admitted into intermediate one because I had a science background. I was exempted from foundation 1 and 2. I got admitted into intermediate one, and I got access to the study pack. So for intermediate one, I did a mix of everything. It wasn't really called human resources. I had one course, I think workplace management. That was human resources. The other one was business administration, economics, and one other course like that. It was hard because, you know, coming from a science background, now I'm doing balance sheet and all of those things. But it was something I was really ready to do for my big picture. I was really ready to do it so that I could achieve what I wanted to achieve, which was get into human resources. So I wrote my first CIPM diet in November 2021. I passed. I wrote the second diet in March of 2022. I passed, but this is me skipping. So after that, I was already doing human resources, sort of. I was already talking about human resources, telling people that I wanted to do human resources. And then in January of 2022, I got a job, like an online job, to be an interviewer or a recruiter. So prior then, I'd already been, because my POP was April of 2022. And you know, I was this, oh, I don't want to go back home. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I just want to I just want to like get a job. I wasn't really getting any feedback, probably because I didn't know how to tailor my experience that I had then to position me as a HR person. So on my CV, it's like a supervisor, an admin assistant while I was doing payroll. I could have just put like a payroll assistant, which was true, but I just left admin assistant. So I was applying for jobs and I wasn't really getting any feedback or any inquiries, any interviews. And then in January 2021 or 2022, I'm mixing up the dates, which was literally my tipping point. I've shared a story about how I started earning in dollars. So on the Facebook group, somebody has put out that we're looking for an interviewer. I applied for the job, and because of like how much knowledge I had amassed in human resources, even if it was in Nigeria, I had amassed like so much knowledge in terms of recruitment, onboarding, all of these things. I did my interview. The guy really liked it and said, okay, come and start working. So I did that for about 4 months, 5 months before the project ended, and I had to, like, my contract also ended. However, by this time, I was not able to tailor my CV a little bit more. I put I was a recruiter for that role, and then I started shooting my shot. April, my NYC, I did pass out. I didn't get a job, packed my bags, went back to Benin City, and then I started applying to a job. I was really, really trusting God. I was praying, asking people to pay me their prayers that, oh my God, I needed a job and all. And not May, in April, I was interviewing. I was getting callbacks at that point. I think between March and April, I was already getting callbacks. Now, in terms of how I landed my first job in HR, I had, again, I said I'd done like so many applications. I had like two CVs, one that tailored to like an admin assistant, because initially my plan was that I would be applying for jobs only in HR, like only in HR, because my rationale was that if I was going to build a career in HR, there was no point starting something else and then trying to transition, which I see the fault. I see the fault in that logic now. So I was only doing HR, but after like cricket, I decided to have another CV that tailored to being an admin assistant. So I was applying. I think within that time, I'd applied to up to like 100 and something jobs. When this one eventually came, this particular job was my first official Nigerian HR job. I got it. I saw the ad somewhere. I went to the company's website and I put in my application. I also applied for being a technical recruiter in one of the an edu tech company also. So I did interviews. I got called for interview. I was so excited. I had my first interview. All the interviews I had were remote, which was really great because I was in Benin at the time. One of the jobs was in Ibadan. The other one was fully remote. So I see why the process was remote. So I did the interview. They asked me, "Oh, could I come to Ibadan?" Like I was open to recruiting. I negotiated my salary, and I got the job. I also got the job of a technical recruiter for this edutech firm, and then I was now like at a dilemma: where do I go? What do I choose? So I chose the. I left the technical recruiter. I left the fully remote, which would have been ideal because I was home. I would not be paying anything. I had a laptop. I just had to like do my job, get my money and all. But I picked the other one because it felt like it would stretch me a little bit. It felt like it would stretch me. I could grow. I don't have to be home, which I'd be like, I really wanted to get away from the house. I really wanted to get away from the house. And it was going to be more stressful in terms of like responsibilities, financials and all. But it was a risk that I was willing to take and it paid off. So I started that job. I was at that job for I think about 7, 8 months before I moved to Lagos to take. I think I have another video that talks about my HR story, about how I've changed jobs and the like, how I've moved from job to job and coming to Lagos. I took a pay cut to come to Lagos, but it paid off eventually. I took a pay cut, worked for about 2 years in that other company in Lagos and then moved to another one. And right now I'm slowly phasing out the human resource part and now moving fully into business analysis, which is where I want to actually like lay down my roots for the next 10 years. For me, HR, I always knew HR was going to be like a short-term plan. I had like a 5-year roadmap to work in HR. I loved HR. I loved the people, but for me, I want to be something. I want to be at the center of the business. I want to be not just focusing on the people, but being like the focus on like business operations, analysis, strategy, if you may, which is what I'm currently doing or I'm doing in the next phase of my life. Now, the first HR job I got in Ibadan was like an internship role, but I got promoted after like 3 months to being an associate. Some things that also helped me was I had like a community where my mentor, again, the one who had helped me to put together my Coursera financial aid had. So he had like a volunteer coordinator role. So it was a group, an NGO, and then they had like a lot of volunteers. So they're looking for somebody to essentially manage volunteers from recruitment, sorting out TVs, doing interviews, like a little bit of experience from there, put it on my CV. And I think all of these little things contributed. And also, again, I can never, ever, ever overemphasize the importance of God. I'm a Christian, I believe in Jesus, and that is one of the advantages that I used because I was trusting God, I was praying, holding on to God's word. I'd received word that I was going to get a job, I was going to get a job in a field I was interested in, and I was just holding on to prophecy and it came to pass. Moving on to like CIPM, I got a job. So by March of 2022, I had already passed my second stage of CIPM. So I was already on intermediate. So I think it also helped because I put on my CV that I was the student member of CIPM and I was currently in professional 1 level and I was taking my exams. And then everything I was learning from CIPM to also contributed to like my expertise, being able to answer questions and all of that. So I started working in May. I couldn't take the exam in May because they have like 4 diets across the year, one in June. So we have March, June, September, and December. So I couldn't take the one in June because I just relocated to Ibadan. I was still everywhere. I was still trying to get settled, and it didn't really feel like the right headspace to take an exam. And anybody who has taken CIPM know that professional one was very crazy because up until then we have been doing like four courses. Professional one had 5 courses. One then was operational research, which I think they've changed now. But anybody who wrote OR knows that OR is a deal breaker for many people, and they had so many rules in terms of how many courses that you have to pass or how many courses you can fail before you have to repeat the entire level. And all of these things cost money. Again, remember I was barely earning anything at the time, so I wanted to maximize how I was writing the exam. So I took the next one in September, which I passed. I didn't take any in December. I took the next one next year. And by August of 2023, I got inducted fully into CIPM. Will I say CIPM is hard? It depends. I didn't use any study center. I studied all on my own. I read study pack for patients research. I used like some YouTube videos. So I would not say it was easy, but you have to put in the work, and it's really hard when you have a 9 to 5. The first 2 exams I took was a bit easier because I was serving at the time, so I had a bit more time. I remember when I was in the office at the university where I served, I would just bring out my study pack that I had printed and just be reading during my spare time. Same when I got back home, took like started reading and all of that. But by the time I started doing the 9 to 5, it was a bit harder. The one I wrote when I was in Ibadan was even like less, it wasn't so much harder because again it's IB now. The life is a bit chilled. You go to work, you come back, you have like I get home then. If I leave my office by like 5:30, I can get home by 5:45, 5:50. So I had time to like rest, pick up my book and read and all. I didn't have any other thing I was doing. I wasn't touring the city. But then when I now came to Lagos, it was a whole different ball game. Work was hard, there was traffic. So I would say that the other 2 exams I wrote in Lagos while I was working in Lagos was a bit more intense. But yeah, at the end of the day, what's done is done. Ha ha ha. The challenges I faced coming into HR with no experience is, I think, something that is still here. Companies expect you to have experience, like they expect you to have something on your CV that points that you've done HR, even if it's 3 months, just a similar job title, which was what I mentioned that once I started putting those job titles was the game changer in my job hunting. It's sad because the thing is, you can initially they will tell you to sprinkle all of these things like human resource things that you are doing in the job description, but most HR professionals, they don't have time or the bandwidth to start reading everything line after the other. So typically they'll just skim through for like similar job titles, similar experience, courses that you've taken, anything that points to human resources, but they won't really look at the nitty-gritty of the responsibilities that you had on your current job role. So I would say that that was the challenge that I faced, just being able to convince people to from my CV that they should take a chance on me. And I'm really, really grateful to my first manager who had my interview. I was like, okay, let's do this. She's a good fit. Let's go. I did not face any imposter syndrome. I don't know. I felt like because I was so confident because of the knowledge I had amassed, I had learned, I had paid my dues in the knowledge wise, I had learned a whole lot, and I was able to answer any question. So I just needed to get a chance, which was what I got eventually. I just needed to get a chance to be in people's faces and tell them what I know and show them my passion for human resources. And I think it did help that I had a story to tell because when I'm doing my introduction, I would typically say I studied biology and started pursuing human resources. And then they want to know that, oh, what made you pursue human resources? Then I start with my story about how I started working, I started being a supervisor. So like it helped that I had a story to tell. It helped make my interviews like more engaging. My advice for anyone who's looking to pivot into human resources would be for you to keep trying. Never think that it's impossible, even if you're transitioning from a different field. I think that you should keep pushing. Once you have the knowledge part down, once you don't even have to have like 100% of all the knowledge, just know enough to answer questions. You want to start telling everybody that cares to hear that you are a human resource professional. Own it. I know people wait to get jobs before they start saying that they're a human resource professional, but I don't think it is. Once you are built in that line, for instance, once you are built and once you're gather knowledge in that line, I think you can start calling yourself a HR professional or a business analyst or a product developer. You don't have to have worked as one in quotes to be called one. So you have to keep learning. Certifications help. I think CIPM did help me a bit, but real experience matters. So volunteer if you want to volunteer. Um, Freelance, consult. You can consult as a recruiter. If you can tell people that, oh, I can help you find talents, let them bring in their requests. You can do it for free or put it on your CV that, oh, you recruited for XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. So I think that actually also helps. Again, start somewhere, even if it's volunteering, working for free. You can, if you're currently working, you can reach out to your HR department and say, oh, can I support you with any task that you have? It will impact on my current task, but let me just do this so I can also help to gather experience. If you're on your HR journey or thinking about switching careers, let me know in the comments section. I'd love to support you any way I can. I didn't have much support when I was making my transition, maybe because I didn't ask or I didn't know who to ask, or maybe I should say I didn't have much direct support, but I had people, my friends, my mentor who was cheering me on. I had access to communities. Okay, I had access to communities that put me where I could, learn, essentially learn from like real life HR issues. But I didn't have that one on one. So if you need any help or there's any way I can support you, you can put it in the comment section and we can arrange that. Don't forget to like, share this video with anybody that you know who is looking to transition into HR and it will be helpful for. Subscribe for more content on career, faith, lifestyle, personal development, building a solid 9 to 5 career, a solid 9 to 5 journey. And I will see you in my next video. You can also watch any of the videos that I have here on how to improve and grow your careers. And I will see you